Welcome back to TuxTraveler. Hey, we're back in the desert. In fact, I'm right at the same desert I was at in almost exactly the same time last year when I kind of decided that 2023 was going to be a year of a break on this particular channel. And there were a number of factors that went into that. Number one is I was trying to figure out directions and solidify directions on the other channels which were actually profitable. Because, I don't just do this for money. In fact, I don't make any money on most of my channels anyway. I don't do this for money, but I have to have the general expenses taken care of if I'm going to devote time to a channel like this. Now, hey, if we turn this into something that is profitable and does turn into something, hey, that's good too. I'll accept it, whatever I can. I mean, we got bills to pay. But I needed to take some time to figure out how to keep the other channel profitable and maybe moving in a good direction. And I'm not sure if we completely figured all that out yet, but we've made a lot of positive directions in that. And then I wanted to solidify a few other things. But of course, the other factors that went into that was that there were, once again, changes on the federal laws that said we couldn't film on the lands, at least I don't know if filming on the lands is necessarily a problem, but doing videos about the lands is more of the issue, I think, which is completely stupid, completely backwards. But hey, that defines our current world. So whatever. And the thing is, I started the channel really spending the most of my time visiting all of the national parks and doing cool videos about them. Well, I didn't have that anymore, and I had, most of the videos I had footage already to put out, I couldn't release anymore because of that. I mean, we went to Lawson and we went to, which parks did I not get to? I don't think I got to Olympic, Lawson, Mount St. Helens, and then this year I did, I did Sequoia, I did some Mono Lake, which isn't a park, but it's not a park. I mean, it's a popular visitor area, but it's not a park. It's not an official thing. I went through Yosemite, Sequoia, Kings Canyon, Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. I did a lot of things. So I did Hot Springs last year. So I still filmed everything in case the laws turn around again and I can release the footage. But then I wanted to stop and think about what direction would I want to take a channel like this. I'm not an out there bombing on the road every single day like a Van City Vanlife. I cannot put money in the van that much, but of course he makes a ton of money on his channel, so he can do that. But so it's like a traditional daily vlog type style definitely is not going to work, especially since I'm not a guy that goes around exploring a lot. I'm more of a nomadic hermit. Okay, I usually come to one camp spot and I'll stay here as long as I can, and I'll take 5 miles of walks a day, but they're not always the most exciting. Usually, like where I'm at here, I know walking to the end of the street down here to where there's a cross street back there is about 1.5 miles or so. I do that twice and I'm good, And so I don't do a lot of seriously exploring type things. I mostly just get to a good spot where I can enjoy the scenery, take a couple walks in the day, look up at the stars at night, watch the sunset over this mountain ridge, and work. That's really what I do. And that's not the most engaging of van life content. But maybe that's part of what we need to see is that, hey, not all van life is all about the excitement, right? So I looked at other channels like Foresty Forest. I hope he's okay. This guy goes out and does some dangerous things and hasn't been seen for like 3 weeks. I'm sure there's some Patreon supporters out there that have a little bit more active updates, but he hasn't done a video in a while. So he does pretty much like one a week maybe. And his are more focused, so like he'll do one big adventure a week, film that, and then the rest of the time you don't know what he's doing. So he's possibly doing what I'm doing. He just takes the day off and explores. I don't know, I could do something like that. But I think one of the things that I might do here is I want to bring some more videos back in, probably not more than once a week, and it's definitely going to be lower priority just because I need to make sure that the other priorities are there, and I'm already super busy. But I do feel like I've been missing a little bit of this, and I think part of getting out to the van life is just to document the journey a little bit. So let me bring you up to speed with where I was at since last year at this time. which was pretty much brings me all the way through 2023. I don't remember if I might have posted one or two things. I just can't remember. So let's go ahead and bring you up to speed. So I left here. I went to Quartzsite just for a couple days, went over to Tucson for a little bit, and then I actually stayed at Indian Bread, which is a spot that I only got a chance to be at for an overnight the year before. And I thought that was a really, really cool place. I'd like to go back again. And so what I ended up doing is I went back and I spent a week there, and it was a great time. It was a beautiful area, really nice. And then of course I left there, and then I went over to pass through El Paso area, and then I went to Carlsbad Cavern, which was absolutely amazing. Yeah, the three more parks I didn't mention earlier: Carlsbad Cavern, Big Bend, and Guadalupe Mountains. So I'm driving up over the Guadalupe Mountains, just past the mountains, about 3 or 4 miles away, and snow is starting to hit pretty good, and there's a rest area. So I pull over, stop, we get 4 inches of snow, which is cool because, you know, it's a Texas rest area. You're allowed to be at a Texas rest area for up to, you know, basically 24 consecutive hours. So I just pulled over, worked for the night, had decent enough internet, worked for the night, got up in the morning, brushed the solar panels off because, yeah, that was snowy up there. And then worked for a little while, and the sun came out, melted a lot of the snow off. So I backtracked, and I hiked through the Guadalupe Mountains in 6 inches of snow. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. And then I went over, and Carlsbad Caverns was closed for a week to redo some lighting and stuff. And so there was this beautiful little, just a little BLM parking lot. It was literally just like a giant BLM parking lot. I've seen more and more of these lately. I stayed at one in Nevada outside of Ely. I also stayed at one coming off of Lawson, just outside of Red Bluff, California. It's basically these parking areas where you'd go in and you'd park and you'd hike the trails, but they're official BLM parking areas. So yeah, you can be there for a while. So I stayed there for a week. Set up camp, stayed there for a week, got a lot of work done, and the day the Carlsbad Cavern opened back up, I went over and I hiked through the whole length of the 3 or 4 miles of cavern. It was beautiful, and then I came back down. I drove down to Big Bend, and I got there. Fortunately, the day after I got there was the day power came back on. So power comes on, and then the next day I show up because they got hammered by an ice storm. So I actually got pictures of cacti with ice crystals on them. It was beautiful. So from there, I went over and I did a lot of just spot camping throughout various rest areas in Texas. I got stuck up by Miller's Reservoir. Yeah, that road was slick, and I just fell into a ditch. I'm like, whatever, got internet, we're fine. So I just stayed until the road dried out, and I was able to drive out of the ditch. It was great. So I leave there, and I end up going through, camping through Oklahoma, down through, is it Broken Arrow, Broken Bow, Broken something, down through the Cherokee Nation, actually. Very nice. A Cherokee Nation. I sound like I hit puberty for a second there. So went down through the Cherokee Nation, camped through there a little bit. And then I went into Arkansas, where I found a couple really beautiful campgrounds up there in the woods in Arkansas. Drove down through the rest of the state, crossed back into Mississippi at, I think, Greensboro, something. So anyway, I went down through there, hung out at the cypress forest or the cypress break for a little bit, and then I proceeded found a nice BLM campground with actual facilities like water, trash, bathrooms, like real bathrooms. It was like, oh, hallelujah. The only thing they had too much of was trees. So I couldn't really stay there long term because of solar panel. In fact, I was able to drive up to the top of the mountain and recharge. I think if I stay there next year, like this year going back, I might actually just pull the tent out and pitch a tent and set up a campsite. That way during the day, I'll just leave all that there and just go up, have a full sun day up there, and then come back down in the evening once the sun's down a little bit. That way I can probably stay there. That's why I have a tent. I actually don't have a tent to sleep in it. I have a tent because if I find a good camp spot and I want to make sure I have it again at the end of the day, I'll pitch a tent and leave. then people know, oh, someone's there, and no one will really go and bother it. And if they do, you mess with my crappy Walmart $20 tent, I guess I'll just have to go buy a new one. So I leave there. Let's see, where are we at? We're in are we in Mississippi or Alabama? I can't remember if that campground was in Mississippi or Alabama. And then I went back through there, stayed at a couple rest areas, and then I go over, and my exciting night was just south of Chattanooga. So I get down there, and I find this really cool spot. It was a good spot. I wanted to stay there for a while, and hey, it was like on the shore of the Chattanooga River, so it was just like, there were no trees, perfect place. I get there, but that's when those massive storms and tornadoes came through the area. So I look, I'm literally on I'm on this dirt peninsula on the banks of the Chattanooga, having just crossed this narrow dirt bridge. I step out of the van, it's midnight. There's so much rain that there's this perpetual inch of rain on this dirt mound. I checked the weather. We have 2 flash flood warnings, or either watches or warnings. We had a tornado watch. We had severe thunderstorm. There were 5 weather alerts. I'm like, I am going to die if I stay here. So about midnight, I pack everything up and I drive over, and I saw a boat ramp not too long, but it was all paved concrete. So I pull in there and I say, well, I don't think anyone's going to be blame me for sleeping here for the night. So I backed up on the highest spot on the paved boat ramp, slept through the night, no tornadoes came through, and then I drove up just west of Chattanooga, worked in that Walmart plaza for the day, and then drove through to the Chattanooga rest area. Drove through there and then camped in some spots in Georgia and in North Carolina. Some beautiful, beautiful campgrounds there, all free BLM campgrounds. Did a lot of really nice hiking out in those areas. And then I went down to my conference in Spartanburg. And then I went up into Smoky Mountain National Forest, crossed over there, and then hung out with some subscribers over there for a few days in Tennessee, and then went on up into Roanoke, Virginia, where I have my friends at the Fresh Vintage channel are up there. We did some stuff, and actually we filmed the van tour of the on Fresh Vintage over there. So, and then from there, I think, let's see what I do from there. I think from there, I went back up and I just kind of moved back up into Pennsylvania, and it was the most Pennsylvania thing ever. I crossed into Pennsylvania on more of a back road. What's the first thing I passed going into Pennsylvania? An Amish buggy. Welcome home to Pennsylvania. Did some things up there in Erie, Grove City, Erie, and things like that. And then I actually went across 6. And one of the only places where there's like BLM camping available in Pennsylvania is most of the foresty stuff is state in Pennsylvania, and you can't stay on the state without alerting them. Like, you have to call ahead and get a permit to stay. And a lot of the state forests don't actually have decent internet, but the one in the Allegheny National Forest does. And so, whoa, that semi's loud. So I get up there into Allegheny National Forest, camp there for a few days, go on into Wellsboro, and then I shot back down to State College from there. Hung around from there, did my camps in Virginia, and went up and I taught at a writers conference up there, back up there in PA, and kind of hung out. And then from there, I left, I think in August. Went down south, met with some people I work on some writing projects with down in Dayton, and then down into Kentucky. Went to Mammoth Cave, and then hung out with a friend down there in Bowling Green for a little bit. And then from there, we drove across, hitting more of the southern area. I drove across, I think I don't know if it was, I don't think I did 70. I did think I did south of 70. But drove across Kansas. I found a really, really good spot in, where was it? It was in Illinois, which I wanted to just kind of pass through Illinois because of how hostile it is towards the second day there. But I ended up finding this beautiful spot. Can't remember the name of it now, but it was on a bayou back there. It's Turkey Bayou, I think, something like that. Stayed there for almost a week, left there, and then I found Moon Lake was last year. It was a lake in maybe it was Crescent Lake or something in Kansas, stayed there for a little bit. Stayed at a couple other spots through Kansas that were decent spots, and then, let's see, went from Kansas and made my way over to the Great Sand Dunes down in Colorado, and then up into Rocky Mountain National Forest, took some beautiful photography, met some of my oldest clients in web design down there who live actually in the town right outside of there. That was a great time. Went, got some dinner at a wonderful little restaurant. From there, I went on up into Wyoming, hung out with some friends in Wyoming for a little bit, and then I shot down into Utah. And I went through Provo area, stopped at Bridal Veil Falls for a day to work, which is a beautiful spot, and then camped down through a series of areas until I get down to Capitol Reef National Park. Hung out over at Capitol Reef and stayed at that BLM ground for almost, I think, 2 weeks. No, it might have been a whole week. I think it was just 1 week. But I got there, did Capitol Reef. That's where I stayed for the annular eclipse, which was just amazing to watch that in the desert. Left there, and then I shot out across the center into absolute Nowheresville, Nevada. Did the Great Basin National Park, which is in literally the middle of nowhere. I don't think there's anything around it for like 100 miles in all directions. Went up into Ellie, stayed at that one little BLM spot, and then from there I drove across the middle of the state, crossed over, camped at Mono Lake, and then from Mono Lake I drove through Yosemite, went down through Fresno into Sequoia National Park, Kings Canyon National Park, and then went up to up into Sacramento, where I visited people up there for about 2 weeks. Came back down through Fresno, and that brings me pretty close to where I'm at. So I went down through there, camped through Bakersfield area things, and then I got my way over to Joshua Tree, stayed there for 2 or 3 weeks, and then I came over here, back over here to Parker. And so I'm at Parker now, and I'm leaving Parker. This is my last full day. I am very much looking forward to the sunset over this ridge again. One last sunset. This is definitely my favorite BLM spot to be at. I've been here for way longer than I should have. In fact, I was going to leave last week, but the church out here asked me to preach tomorrow. So that's what we're going to do. So it's just a beautiful spot out here, and I'm really enjoying my time. That's where I've been going. So what am I doing in the future? Going into the future, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to do, if I happen to take some adventure that I can record, I'll go ahead and do a little bit of that. But I think the videos might become a little bit different, where I might just turn on the camera each day for a little bit and then do 1 week vlog, because I'll leave out the yelling at the computer and the doing client work, which is mostly boring, but who knows, maybe I'll include a little bit. We'll be doing a few things. We'll talk about the state of the van after 3 years living on the road, what has worked, what hasn't worked, what things I would have done different. After a while, we're starting to see that. I'm happy to report that 99% of everything that I did on start, no problems. But I'm going to go ahead and start compiling a list. We're going to be changing some switches around. I just ordered a big gang switch panel for some slight tweaks and adjustments on some of my power units, which will hopefully clean up the spaghetti of a electrical cabinet up there. And we had to order a couple other things went bust, and so we'll talk about those when I get those in. But from here, though, I'm going to shoot to try and get you 1 video a week. If we miss a week, just understand this channel is the lower priority right now. But hey, if we cross monetization threshold and we're starting making money, hey, we'll do more. Why not? But I did want to get back into it for no other reason than this, that living on the road is a fascinating thing. It carries with it some amazing benefits. It carries with it some opportunities. It carries with it some unique struggles. And if nothing else, I would like to demonstrate and illustrate and keep for myself a log and a diary of what it was like to live on the road. Because there is going to come a time I'm going to move off the road. I love living on the road, but I am actually in many ways, I'm looking forward, no time soon, but I'm looking forward in the future to saying, okay, let's get a house. Maybe I will take that next step, logical step and homestead, who knows, but we'll figure it out. But in the meantime, I'd like to document my journeys a little bit more. So we'll see what I can do. And from there, guys, stay tuned for more videos. And we are going to come back and do at least some content here on TuxTraveler in 2024. Thanks, guys, for sticking around for my year break. It has been a good, fun year, but I'm looking forward to maybe even growing this channel a little bit more in the coming year. So with that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.